On a crisp September morning, Windsor Castle emerges from the mists of dawn, its centuries-old stones glowing softly in the first light of day. The castle, steeped in history, has long been a backdrop to diplomacy and ceremony. Today, once again, it has hosted a moment of symbolic significance, the farewell between King Charles III and United States President Donald Trump. The farewell itself may have lasted only seconds, but the weight behind it was unmistakable. A monarch whose role demands neutrality and restraint stood at the gates to bid farewell to one of the most polarizing American presidents in modern memory. The images of this exchange, simple yet powerful, will travel far beyond the confines of Windsor. They will be scrutinized by allies, adversaries, and ordinary citizens across the globe. As Trump's motorcade rolled away, heading toward the Prime Minister's country retreat at Chequers, the symbolism of Windsor lingered in the air. This was not merely the end of a royal visit. It was a bridge between ceremonial tradition and political reality. Every handshake, every wave, every look exchanged between the king and the president conveyed a message larger than words. For King Charles, these gestures carry extraordinary responsibility. The British monarch is expected to represent continuity and stability, not partisanship or policy. Yet the very act of hosting Trump twice in Windsor Castle has ignited debates across Britain. Some argue it strengthens the special relationship between London and Washington. Others see it as an uncomfortable endorsement of a divisive leader. The scene this morning, framed against the walls of Windsor Castle, epitomised that tension. The quiet dignity of the monarch stood in stark contrast to the noisy controversies that follow Trump wherever he goes. Beyond the gates, protest banners waved and chants echoed. Some voices hailed Trump as a defender of the West, while others accused him of destabilising alliances and disrespecting global norms. Britain, much like the world at large, is divided over Trump. As the cars sped toward Chequers, anticipation shifted to what awaited at the Prime Minister's residence. Keir Starmer, less than a year into his premiership, now faced the delicate task of balancing the pageantry of diplomacy with the hard realities of negotiation. Trade, defence, and the war in Ukraine would dominate the talks. Behind closed doors, substance would replace ceremony. For Starmer, this is a defining moment. Britain is seeking to recalibrate its role in a rapidly shifting world. The echoes of Brexit still reverberate, economic pressures loom, and public scepticism of political elites is never far away. Engaging with Trump requires both firmness and finesse. Allies have learned, sometimes the hard way, that Trump's style is unconventional, bold, unpredictable, and often disruptive. But before Chequers takes the stage, Windsor remains the enduring image. Trump's second state visit to Britain underscores a unique dynamic. Few American presidents have enjoyed such repeated royal hospitality, and each time the choreography has been dissected. When Trump first walked with Queen Elizabeth II, critics accused him of breaking protocol. Now, with King Charles, questions of neutrality and optics are once again front and centre. Royal watchers say that Charles, unlike his late mother, faces a more fragile balancing act. He ascended the throne at a time of political turbulence both at home and abroad. His farewell to Trump is polite, measured, restrained, but observers know that even silence speaks volumes. In Britain, where the monarchy is expected to remain above politics, every image becomes loaded with meaning. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, Trump continues to project himself as a figure of strength and global influence. His visit to Windsor and onward to Chequers allows him to showcase international respect at a time when critics question his foreign policy credentials. For Trump, the optics are clear. The king shakes his hand, the Prime Minister welcomes him. America, through him, commands attention on the world stage. Yet this narrative is far from uncontested. In Britain's streets, demonstrators voice their anger. They recall policies and statements they believe undermined democratic values. They point to alliances strained, international agreements abandoned, and controversies that seem to shadow Trump wherever he travels. In their eyes, Windsor Castle should not be a backdrop for his global campaign of legitimacy. Still, supporters rally as well. For them, Trump's presence is a reminder of the enduring Anglo-American bond, one forged in war and maintained through decades of partnership. They argue that diplomacy requires dialogue, even with leaders who divide opinion. To them, the image of King Charles bidding Trump farewell is not one of controversy, but of continuity. Inside Windsor's walls, the story is more subdued. The castle has seen it all before, kings and queens welcoming emperors, presidents and prime ministers. Its stones carry the memory of power and pageantry, of alliances made and broken. Today's farewell becomes just another entry in that long ledger of history. And yet, in the modern media age, it resonates louder, faster and more controversially than ever before. As the convoy speeds into the English countryside, one chapter closes and another begins. At Chequers, the tone will be less ceremonial and more practical. The discussions with Starmer will shape headlines and policies alike. Will the United States and Britain reaffirm their commitment to NATO? Will trade disputes find resolution? Or will new disagreements emerge under the glare of international scrutiny? Back at Windsor, dawn continues to break, indifferent to the politics it hosts. The castle's quiet majesty stands in contrast to the storm of commentary swirling around Trump's visit. The symbolism of the farewell is clear. The monarchy maintains tradition, the government engages in politics, and Britain navigates its place between history and modernity. The farewell itself may be remembered for its brevity, but its images will endure. They will sit alongside photographs of previous presidents at Windsor, reminders of how history repeats itself each time with new faces, new controversies and new consequences. In the end, the moment says as much about Britain as it does about America, a nation proud of its traditions yet struggling with modern divisions, a monarchy trying to remain neutral yet inevitably drawn into the politics of diplomacy, and a relationship with the United States that remains vital even when tested by personalities and politics. As Trump heads toward Chequers, one truth remains. Diplomacy is not only about policies written in documents, but about the images and symbols that travel across the world. King Charles's farewell may have been measured and ceremonial, but its impact is global, shaping perceptions and debates that will echo long after the motorcade disappears from view. And so Windsor once again reminds us of the delicate balance between tradition and change, between ceremony and politics, between history and the present moment. This farewell, like so many before it, is a story not just of a king and a president, but of the enduring and complicated dance of diplomacy itself.